Uh, um, so I'm going to declare this meeting of the Maplewood Public Safety Committee open. And we have myself, the chair. We have Mayor McGehee. Our other voting member, Committeeman DeLuca, is running a little late, but he will be joining us in progress. We have Chief Ariemma of the fire department. We have Chief Duvall joining us from the police department. As usual, we're going to start with the fire department portion of the agenda. We also have with us our township administrator and our deputy township administrator. For those on the call who may not know, we are wrapping up a working fire at a large apartment building on Valley Street, 747 Valley, near the corner of Milburn Avenue and Valley Street. I think, a large contingent of Maplewood Fire Department firefighters, as well as police officers. And based on my drive-by of the scene, a lot of folks, firefighters and police officers from other jurisdictions are also on the scene. So we're going to try to be as efficient as possible tonight to let the chiefs get back to doing what they need to do to coordinate their folks on the scene. But thank you for joining us. So Chief Ariemma, as usual, we are going to start with the fire department, and we are going to go to the May month report. So we received the report, but if you want to walk us through some of the highlights of May.
Sure. Good evening, everybody. I'll try to get through this. So first, I just wanted to congratulate Chief Weber on his retirement. This is my first meeting as acting chief, so I just wanted to recognize Chief Weber for getting me prepared for these meetings. So so here we go. In May, we had 299 responses, 162. Sorry, phone's still going off. 162 EMS responses, 31 mutual aid EMS. South Orange Rescue handled 27 of those 31. COVID was thankfully pretty much non-existent in May. However, we are still having all of our members on all the medical calls wear masks. The current CDC guideline is to have any medical facility, they still have to wear a mask. So we're considering ourselves a medical facility in the ambulance. So the guys are still doing that. There were 19 fire responses in May. There was 1 car fire, 15 structure fires, 2 cover assignments, and 1 outside fire. Fires in Maplewood, 124 Donnell Road, 1545 Springfield Avenue, Seth Boyden School. We had a small fire in the heating unit, very, very small fire, but it did create a pretty good smoke condition throughout the building. 501 Valley Street, 78 Jacoby Street. That was kind of a crazy fire. We actually had 2 fires very, very close to each other in that house. What it turned out to be at 78 Jacoby Street is the first fire was completely unrelated to the second fire. It was a renovation that was being done by the homeowner, and unfortunately there were no permits taken out or anything. So the work that was being done, contributed to the fire. So just a message to everybody: if you're going to do work on your house, please make sure you have permits. The reason that we ask for permits is so we don't have fires and incidents like this in houses under construction. 13 mutual aid fires. We went to Irvington 11 times, Orange 2 times. In May, we had 6 fire investigations conducted by our department. To date, there have been 9 investigations completed, 11 motor vehicle accidents with injuries. Thankfully, I think this is the first month in a very long time that we had no pedestrians struck by any vehicles in May. So that's, I know that's a very, very important factor, or number. So very, very happy to see that. 2 elevator entrapment calls, 2 carbon monoxide incidents, 9 hazmat calls, 14 wires down, and 7 natural gas leaks. Training, just want to touch on some training. We had about 400 hours of training in May, which is a very, very good number. Some of the topics that we covered was a walkthrough of the South Mountain Reservation. As I'm not sure if a lot of the public knows, but a lot of the reservation is actually in Maplewood. And we respond actually on quite a few calls up there, up at the dog park and as such. So we did that. Extrication training. We had a company come in called All Hands Fire, and I was able to work with the town's insurance, PMA Insurance. The representative, Chris Britt, great guy, absolutely awesome to work with. Terrific guy, was able to secure a contract with, another update from the scene, was able to secure a contract with this company to provide extrication training to the department at no cost to the town. PMA Insurance covered the entire cost. It was a 2-week course, 1 day each week. It was about $8,500 that PMA Insurance covered. So, and Chris Britt was absolutely phenomenal in securing that funding. So, we also did a Tesla Powerwall operations training. As we know, Tesla's electric cars, they're obviously becoming more and more apparent throughout the town. So it's new to us. This is a training that we're going to start focusing on, hopefully, this year into next year. It's kind of new to the fire service. It's kind of like solar panels. Solar panels have been around for a while, but the amount of solar panels that are out there, it has grown dramatically. And we never used to see fires from solar panels because there were so few of them. Now they're starting to happen more and more. Electric cars, more and more fires. So we're trying to keep up with all the information and training out there. Let's see. And then in May, just a bunch of meetings we attended. FEMA reimbursement for COVID, department head meetings, OEM meetings, Essex County Fire Chiefs meetings. And one of the biggest important ones was May 26th, when Chief Weber was here. He and I attended a meeting at South Orange Fire Department headquarters, which is where we finalized all of the REMS dispatching. We got South Orange on there, and just as an update, South Orange is on there. It seems to be working very, very well, and so far so good. I know that for this fire today, South Orange was dispatched right away. They were on scene only a minute or two after our guys were, and it seems to be working very well. So, Mr. Lundberg, that's my condensed report.
Okay, thank you, Chief. And I know we spoke earlier, but my understanding, at least preliminarily today, is no fatalities from today's fire, and no life-threatening injuries. Is that correct?
Yes. From what I've heard from the incident commander on scene is that we had two victims transported. It doesn't appear to be life-threatening injuries, mostly smoke inhalation. Doesn't appear to be any burn injuries. So that's good, because for that size of building and the number of apartments in there, it definitely could have been a lot worse. So, thankfully the guys were there instantly. They made entry. They broke windows, forced doors. Very aggressive. Went in, did what they had to do, pulled the people out, and basically saved their lives. So.
Yeah, no, I could see that even from the distance, even from Milburn Avenue, I could see where they made the entry, and So yeah, no, great job by all, and I'm glad to hear that the mutual aid, or in this case, the South Orange, was there, almost immediately. So so that's great. I'm glad that that agreement's working out, paying dividends already. Chief, unless the mayor or the township administrator have questions on the May monthly, I think we're going to move on to the overtime. June, I know, June, I think, is the last month that contractually our firefighters had to use the carryover time from last year. Is that right?
Yes, so any of the personal time that was carried over had to be used by June 30th. So now there is no more of that time. Now that we're in July, any of those hours are now gone. Everybody used all those hours, so there's none that were left over. So I think that's why there's a little bit of a increase, but it's it's personal time that's contractually allowed. So. And then the only other thing that really was higher than normal would be training. But that was because of the live burn. We had everybody, attending. So the best way that we found to do it is the day that the guys are getting off shift. That's when we send them to the training. So if the guys are working Monday, they would go Tuesday. Tuesday would go Wednesday, etc. We paid everybody 5 hours overtime, and so that's why there was, about 200 hours of training in June. So the number's a little higher than probably what it normally would have been, but we did the live burn training. So.
Right. Well, which we usually do earlier. I mean, obviously we didn't do last year because of COVID, but we usually do that a little earlier in the spring. And just
and we had tried to do it back in January, February, but COVID was still kind of around, and so the academy wasn't really doing any in-person training like that. Once things kind of calmed down a little bit with COVID and things started opening up, we were able to secure dates in June. So we know June is usually higher anyway, but that's just vacation and personal time. So that's why it's a little higher, just because training was in that month as well.
But the fact that we were able to do it jointly with South Orange, I think actually, was a nice byproduct of the fact that we were a little bit delayed on our end. We were able to include South Orange in that training. I think actually was, ended up being fortuitous. And just, we have a number of members of the public here tonight who may not, understand the carryover. Last year during COVID, I think, pretty heroically and a great service to our town. The fire department, I think most people know that our EMS, the folks who run the rescue squad and are responding to the 911 calls for medical services are out of our fire department. And during COVID, we actually saw historic lows in people calling out for sick time, using vacation. When we needed them most, our firefighters and EMTs were showing up day in and day out. And to avoid a situation where at the end of the year we would have had staffing issues because people would have been forced to use that vacation or lose it, we came up with an agreement that benefited both both the firefighters and the township to allow them, to extend that, to be able to use it over the first half of this year as well, to spread that out a little more. But we knew at some point that those really low overtime numbers and costs from last year, we were going to, catch up, because eventually folks were going to use the contractual, vacation and time off they were entitled to. So, but now that June is over, that's passed. And so Chief, thank you for that. I understand also the training, and that's something we anticipated as well. And, the fact that all of this sort of hit in June explains why that number was a little bigger than the average month. But, still smaller than we saw in 2019, given the staffing issues we were having at that time. So, would it be fair to say that you anticipate, after a hefty sort of May and June overtime, that as we go into the second half of the year, you'd expect overtime will probably start going down again?
I think it'll definitely at least level out. I think during the summer, I mean, we have, every week is covered by vacation. It's historically July and August, are usually high anyway, just because of, contractually allowed personal time, vacation time, sick time. There's very, very, very little sick time that causes overtime. And training, that's only a couple times a year. So yeah, I would say probably, the rest of the summer, it'll probably be back down to normal. Even in June, if we didn't have the live burn, it would have dropped close to 200 hours. So I think, I think going forward, yeah, I think it'll definitely level out and be more within normal limits.
Okay, thanks, Chief. So, unless there's any questions from the mayor or the administrators on overtime, we're going to move on. The next item I can cover very quickly, which is the promotional interview schedule. The Township Committee is going to be interviewing the successful candidates who passed the captain's exam and the deputy chief exam next Monday evening. We're going to be doing all the interviews Monday nights, and we're going to be able to establish our lists, promotional lists for those two positions. So we'll have that done next Monday night. So, a week from now, we will have lists. And I know, that's been, especially for the captains, that's sort of been a long time in coming, but we finally have that on the schedule, and we'll have those lists soon enough. So unless anyone has anything they want to add on that, we're going to move on to item 4, which is a update on consolidation. I'll turn that over to Mayor McGehee.
Thanks, Mr. Limbrick. So really quick, because I want to get our chief out this call and on back on the job there. So as many know, we released the report, the Manitou Consolidated Report, on the 21st of June. We sent an email out. We released it to key stakeholders. We sent an email out on the 25th, which communicated to everyone from the DCA to our partners in FMBA for both departments, as well as elected officials, and of course to the public. It's also available on our website. We are currently looking to have a meeting where we close the report on the 26th of July. There has been some conversations about moving that meeting to the following Monday, August 2nd, but I can't solidify that yet, as there are a lot of moving parts. It's not just one or two entities. It turns out there's several entities, including the consultant. And so that's really a message for Mr. Hubert, is on the call as well. So at this point, the report is done. We're now in the scoping phase, working closely with the DCA and also looking at follow-up meetings with our local fire department / FMBA, as well as with our czars and the state. So that's where we are. The public meeting will be held at the SOPAC on the 26th of July. That's a Monday. That's about 2.5 weeks from now.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Chief, if there's nothing else that you want to tell the Public Safety Committee, or unless the mayor or our township administrator have any questions for the chief, I think we'll go ahead and move to the public comment portion of the meeting. And this is public comment just on the fire department portion of public safety only. And I'll just say we're happy to have the chief take questions. But the chief does have to get back to coordinating the response to the fire on Valley Street. So I see one hand up. I see Ms. Saslovsky. So I'm going to unmute.
Mr. Limbrick, point of order, 3-minute limit?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. So I'm going to recognize Heather Saslovsky for 3 minutes.
Thank you. Chief, I read a report regarding one of the Jacoby Street fires. I know you said there were 2 that day. Regarding ammunition that was going off that delayed your ability to enter. Can you speak to that, and or any maybe alerts that may go out to the public, reminding them about proper safety protocols and that it endangers your staff when ammunition is not stored properly?
Yes, thank you. That's So the ammunition occurred during the second fire. The first fire we had was in the basement, kind of a smaller fire, not really too, involved. The second fire was on the first floor, in the back of the house. And yes, when we arrived on scene, I was actually second on scene. And as we were walking around the house, to see exactly what's going on, we started, hearing a popping sound. So what it was is, because construction was going on in the house, nail guns actually used small caliber bullets, and for the compression and the power. So what happened? So the bullets weren't actually flying through the air like from a gun. They were popping because of the heat and the fire. So it was almost more like fireworks, that kind of sound. But we obviously didn't enter the building. Maplewood police were on scene, and I asked them real quick. I said, "What do you guys think that is?" They said, "It sounds like bullets." I said, "Okay, we're not going in." So it did absolutely, delay our initial attack on the fire, which caused the fire to spread, a little more than we had wanted it to. But yeah, the proper storage of any type of ammunition, guns, anything like that is crucial to the safety of not only the residents, but also first responders, police, fire, EMS that might be entering a home in an emergency. So thank you for bringing that up.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Saslovsky, and thank you, Chief. If anyone else has a question or public comment, again, for the fire department portion of the agenda only, you can use the raise hand function now. If we don't see any in the next few seconds, I'm going to end the fire department portion of the meeting and move on to the police department portion of the meeting, and let Chief Ariemma get back to coordinating the response to, to closing out the working fire on Valley Street. So, Chief, I'm not seeing anyone else with their hand raised, so I'm going to go ahead and thank you for your time. I know it's been a long day for you, and probably going to be an even longer night as you work to get everything settled on Valley Street. So good luck, and thank you for your service.
Thank you, Chief.
All right, thank you, everybody. I appreciate it. Have a good night.
Thank you. All right, so we are now going to move to the police department portion of the agenda. Chief Duvall.
I'm here. Are you there? Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you. Are you on site at Valley Street, or where are you joining us from?
Yes, I am here. Yes, we are making decisions on what displacements there'll be, if any. We're going to be holding the scene down for quite a while.
Okay. Are you in a position to do some of the agenda items?
Yeah, I'm looking at the attachments on my phone.
Okay.
So I'm looking at the monthly report. For May, we had one robbery, which was a carjacking that occurred in Rickleton Square. Two individuals who were in the village were walking to their car. As they got in their car, they were accosted by two other individuals. At least one of them had a handgun, and told them to give them the keys and get away from their car. And they walked away from the car, and they were not harmed in any way other than that. And then the vehicle fled the area. We later recovered that vehicle unoccupied in East Orange. There was one aggravated assault for the month that was domestic violence related. There were 5 auto thefts, and from my report, it's looking like it was 5 for 5. Well, no, screw luck. 4 out of 5 were taken with the keys in it. Let me turn my radio down. I apologize. I'm in my police car. Okay. Yeah. So, and with this fire scene, we had transit bring a couple buses here because of the temperature, so the residents could sit in the buses just to keep cool. That's what they're talking about on my radio now. There were no juveniles referred to the Juvenile Justice Conference Committee, so that's a total of 5 for the year. That's unchanged for the month. Let's see. That seems to be it for the UCR. As the chart that I've provided to you, we continue to trend down. We always take into consideration, Mr. Lembrick, that victim is a victim, and that we do our best to keep our crime low. So, you know, I don't take anybody away. I don't take anything away from anybody who has been victimized. That's what I have on the monthly. All right, that's all I have on the monthly. I encourage you to look at the training, as I always do. We're very active in training. And that's all I have for the month. And I'm going to switch over to my next report to look at if there's any questions about the monthly.
Okay, so Mr. DeLuca has joined us. So Mayor McGehee, Committeeman DeLuca, Mr. Johns, any questions for the chief on the May monthly, the UCR, the crime trends?
I have none.
Okay.
I have none. Greg, I'm here too.
Oh, sorry, Deputy Mayor, I didn't see you there. Okay, and Chief, I didn't notice anything remarkable about the overtime, but is there anything you wanted to tell us about from the overtime report?
So far we're doing very well compared to last year. Overtime is ticking up due to sick time. Between sick time and contractual allotments or raises, I would suspect that we'll catch up probably next month.
Right, but I mean, I up until now, we've actually been below last year's spend, which, considering the contractual adjustments for the new contract, is was actually pretty remarkable.
Yeah, which is essentially because the contract was out for essentially 2 years. So yeah, so we are essentially at a 2-year low right now.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, we can't stay that lucky for long, but it was nice while it lasted. The next, if no members of the committee or the administrator have questions on the monthly, the OT, the UCR, the crime trends, you address the Youth Restorative Justice Program. That actually takes us nicely into an update on the community board on police. I'll just give a quick update, but my colleague, Deputy Mayor Daffis, may want to give a more detailed update if he chooses. The community board on police, sort of the main action topic for this past week's meeting in July. We had Reverend Brenda Ehlers come and give a talk about the Youth Restorative Justice Program and give us some background on that and talk about her involvement and the training that's gone on and some of the work they've been able to do. The Community Board on Police was interested in hearing about that. So that was, that took up a good portion of the meeting. And then there were updates on other projects the Community Board is working on. Deputy Mayor Daffis, anything you want to add on the Community Board?
No, I think you covered the majority of what we talked about, Mr. Lembrick. Thank you.
Okay. Chief, I know you're still at the scene on Valley Street of today's fire. So, unless there's anything else that you have for us, or for the Public Safety Committee, or that any members of the committee have for you, I'm going to move on to public comment. Deputy Mayor, do you have anything for the chief?
I do not.
Okay. Chief?
Yeah, so Mr. Lembrick, I want to, I would like to encourage everybody to spread the word to sign up for Nixle alerts. I preempt this with, for anybody who's tried to call the police department, we have struggled with power outages over the past 2 days, and currently I'm at this scene, so I'm not sure where we are, but we are trying desperately, 1, to restore power, 2, to restore internet, 3, to restore phone connections. As we speak currently, as we speak now, we only have 911 working and our radios working. We have a limited amount of lighting in the building. We have all the people who need to be there, the electricians, the generator people. We are working on it, but just like it seems for this past couple of weeks, nothing has gone our way with this, Mr. Lembrick. So if I want to tell everybody on this call to spread the word, and we'll put the Nixle out when it changes, that if you need a police response, or if there is an emergency, to call 911. There'll be blanket overnight parking permission, because we can't take any incoming calls at this point. I want to reassure the public that we are multitasking with many different things happening. We have coordinated through our neighboring communities, police departments, for mutual aid when necessary, and to contact us over what's called SPEN, the State Police Emergency Network, in case there's any calls that don't get to us that are an emergent need. So if South Orange, and it's happened, if South Orange picks up the call, they have a way to contact us. So that way there is no delay in our response.
Okay, thanks, Chief. Yeah, no, and obviously, we're all hoping that those issues get sorted out over at 1618 Springfield Avenue. I know it's been a nightmare over there, particularly the last couple of days with the power outages and trying to get the phones and and just the power and all the basic things we need over there up. And the internet, and that provides the ability to do, electric reports and connect to the court system. And I know that, you and all of the folks at MPD have been working really hard to do what we need to do to keep the department running despite those challenges.
Mr. Lembrick, I'd like to add, unless something has changed, our phone outage has also knocked out Town Hall's phone outage. I would confirm that, and unless something has changed, this afternoon, the Town Hall.
That's correct.
Well.
Chief, that's correct. I just actually dialed your non-emergency line, and I pressed 1 and got a dispatcher. So she had told me that it seems to have been up for a few hours on her end, but ours is still down. So.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. No. And I was going to say we have the chief of town hall on this call, so he can tell us.
Yeah. So this is all a work in progress.
Yep. Okay. So unless anyone has anything else for the chief, I'm going to go ahead and open up public comment. This is public comment and question on the police department portion of the public safety committee agenda only, limited to 3 minutes. And the way to indicate that you'd like to speak would be to use the raise hand function. And if you can't find that, you can unmute and just let us know you'd like to speak. But I'm seeing one hand right now, and that's Leonard Robbins. So I'm going to recognize Mr. Robbins for 3 minutes.
Hello, everyone. So I just have a question for the chief about trends in crime. There's been a question about whether or not it's going up, going down. We have no idea. So what is it for the first half of this year compared to the first half of last year, even though the first half of the year was
I can give you that exactly. Let me just pull it up on my phone. which is no treat. No. I just had it too. All right, I have it. Okay, so UCR crime year to date is as follows. We had remember, year to date is as of this report. So I have some information that I could add. So this report is through June 1st. So this is the May monthly report. I have the most current data that I have. Obviously, I don't have July's data because it's still July. So through June 1st, you had 5 robberies, and currently, 2020, there was 5 robberies, and in 2021, there was 1. In 2020, there was 1 aggravated assault, DV related, and in 2021, there's 3 aggravated assaults, 2 DV related, 1 non-related. DV is domestic violence. I'm sorry if you don't know. Burglaries, year to date 2020 was 4. Year to date 2021 was 2. Thefts is technically coded as a larceny. The theft for 2020 was 153 and 72 for this year. Motor vehicle theft, 17. And this is your whopper, 17 for 2020 and 34 for 2021. And of the 34, 30 of them had keys in the car. That is our uniform crime statistics.
Chief, if I may, I know you're looking on your phone and I have our report, I read your reports. So Mr. Robbins, just to kind of clarify, rape is down 100%, robberies down 80%, assaults down 22%, burglaries down 50%, theft is down 48%, and unfortunately, motor vehicle theft's up 100%.
Thank you all for that. Appreciate it.
So the real question was, what is the trend? The trend is 100% in a time, 100% more this year than last year. People have left their keys in the cars. That's the trend.
Oh, although Chief, I do think it would be fair to say that, this year there have been some high-profile incidents, of crime in Maplewood that I think, the public has certainly been made aware of, and I think have caused concern.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Mr. Lembrick, I kind of started out this meeting with addressing that when you're a victim, these UCR reports, they don't do you any justice. And if there's a lot of people on this call, even if the UCR is low and seems to be safe, it doesn't diminish the victim at all. And I tried to lead with that.
Right. No, and Chief, I appreciate that. And, I just wanted to sort of, emphasize that point that, just because crime is down doesn't mean that it doesn't exist, and it doesn't mean that there aren't, that Maplewood is crime free, or that, there aren't people who are, who have been the victims of crimes this year in Maplewood, because obviously we know that's not the case.
Yes.
But when it comes to the statistics of, what are the crimes that are reported, and that our police have been called in to investigate, those are the numbers.
Yes.
So, that's what we report. So, but, the numbers, as, here as in most things, don't tell the whole story.
Not at all, Mr. Lembrick. I mean, that's why I even brought it up before this happens, because yeah, the crime seems low unless you're a victim, and then your world is turned upside down, or a family member.
Yeah, I mean, or if you live in the neighborhood.
Yes.
Yeah, so certainly, I think, and I don't mean to put words in the chief's mouth, but, certainly speaking for myself as chair of this committee, the fact, I don't look at a report like the UCR and say, oh, crime is down, therefore we don't need to worry about crime in Maplewood.
Yes.
That's definitely not the position I take. The chief just said, yes, it's not the position that the Maplewood Police Department takes.
Mr. Limbrick, one victim is too many.
Yep. Absolutely right. So we have another hand up for public comment. I'm going to recognize Heather Saslovsky for 3 minutes.
I'm just wondering what, if anything, I mean, I'll start broadly, is being done with respect to gun violence. I realize the reports that were just read go up till June 1st. I think we all have some concerns that continue well beyond June 1st. I know a lot of the names on this call, we live in the Lightning Brook section of Hilton. Unfortunately, whether it occurred in our neighborhood or not, some of it did and some of it didn't. We've had a disproportionate, I think, impact from gun violence recently. I'd like to know if there's some sort of public campaign that is going to happen or what's going to be done to address gun violence in our community.
Chief, do you want to take that first, or Mayor, do you want to take that?
Yeah, I'm not prepared for an answer to that.
So
The two incidents that happened, they are tragic, and we do our best. We do our best to be in the right place at the right time.
So, Chief, I'll jump in here if I may. So, thank you, Ms. Saslovsky, for your question. We have definitely had a string of unfortunate incidents that have occurred in our community in the last 5 weeks or so. In regards to the most recent situation, there was a meeting with individuals residents who live on Hughes Street. And there is a protocol and a process that is underway to address some of the issues that are there to mitigate them moving forward. In terms of the unfortunate loss of Musa, that investigation is ongoing. We all want it to be over like yesterday, but it's not the case at this time. We have monitored the amount of gun permits that are registered with the chief. We talked about that as recent as the end of last year. But obviously, gun violence is an issue. I'm part of Mayors Against Gun Violence, and we're trying to rid illegal guns off the street. But that work not only happens at the municipal level, but it happens also at the national and the state level as well. And so we have been working with Mileage AC and John McGehee and Governor Cody and others to address those issues as well. But we also have to understand that gun violence exists everywhere. Guns are too accessible to anyone illegally, and we need more restrictive laws to address them. So thank you for your statement.
Anyone else who'd like to speak during public comment, please use the raise hand function or unmute and let me know you'd like to speak. If not, I'm going to go ahead and close the public comment. Okay, seeing no one. Oh, I see one more. I see just a first name. I see Lewis, so I'm going to recognize Lewis for up to 3 minutes of public comment.
I thank you very much. Chief, would it help with your efforts to deal with some of the crime in the community if you had additional equipment that would provide support to the police department, such as automatic license plate reader system that was mounted throughout the city. Would that be of assistance to you?
Yes, ALPRs definitely would be an assistance. Yes.
Okay. And with that said, would that be able to tie into the fiber optics and using that as a camera system that would also aid in providing and enhancing safety, especially around gun violence or issues dealing with gun violence?
Well, I guess so. From a police perspective, I would spend as much money on the technology as you could, as the township committee could give me. So, whereas it also depends on where you put this technology. So, if you put them in the most likely place where we have crime, it probably wouldn't have helped. We've had three crimes of violence, 2 indicated on this report, and maybe one of them it could have helped. One was in Maplewood Village, and if I only had one license plate reader, I wouldn't put it there, so it wouldn't have helped there. So, technology. I'm gonna put it like this: you cannot deny that technology helps to solve crimes. I'm not sure how much it helps to deter crimes. And the question that was posed to me, I took that more as what could we do to deter crime? But we do have several portable ALPR readers. They have helped us solve crimes, including on Burnett Avenue, Springfield Avenue, and many other areas. So they do work. I'm just not so sure how much they actually deter crime.
I understand. I apologize if I didn't word it correctly. It wasn't in the sense that of deterring crime, but it was also allowing you or giving you the tools that are needed so that you can resolve some of the issues that may come up.
There's no doubt. There's absolutely no doubt. Any type of cameras or ALPRs strategically placed as our budget would allow would help us. There's absolutely no doubt.
Right.
So Chief, I'm gonna jump in here. So I think, I don't think it's a question, not a dialogue, but I want to say that, we did, when the chief presented his budget for cameras and other equipment and training, we did approve all that. Now there's new enhanced equipment that we're talking about that's post-mortem of the budget. We're happy to consider it and look at it for next year's budget. But Chairman, point of order, I don't think we're having a conversation. I think it's one question, right?
Right. So I think at this point we'll move on to the next public comment if there is any.
So can I just jump in here? I had this previous speaker is Lewis Copeland, and I had a conversation with him early this morning. He suggested that we might be able to find additional resources from the American Rescue Plan funding that the county received. And I think Lewis's thought process is we ought to have Maplewood, those of us on the township committee with the chief ought to have a conversation about whether there's some excess dollars that the county received in the American Rescue Fund monies that we might want to, and that the president has made crime fighting and crime prevention a priority now for some of those funds. That there may be an opportunity here for us to send a letter to the county executive to say, we would like to be in a discussion with the county leaders if in fact there is money that they might be allocating to municipalities.
Well, Mr. DeLuca, we can absolutely do that, but I didn't understand that question, how that was being phrased at the time. Yeah. So thank you for clarifying.
Okay, no, and both as the chair of this committee and also as a township committee member, that's something I would support.
Right.
And maybe that's something that we can put on the agenda for next week's TC meeting for discussion. Next public comment I have John Sullivan. I'll recognize Mr. Sullivan.
Thank you. Chief John Sullivan. I want to commend the police department and the TC for the efforts that they went through trying to do the community building on Hughes Street prior to the unfortunate incident that happened on Friday evening. Do you have any advice, recommendations for other neighborhoods that may have similar type of situations?
So I really think that this was going to be the model for all particular areas where there may be a particular problem house or something that needs to be addressed. I think that this is community solved, and if you think it is not as simple as I called the police and I washed my hands of it. I really think that it has to be a partnership, and we've shown from the township side that we are willing to be partners in this. We are certainly willing to be the enforcement arm of this as well. But when it comes to a community, the community dictates what their level of policing is and what their needs are. And I recommend that when these type of incidents happen, that we get on a call as a community, as we have, and we address it, so that way everybody has a chance to share their input and say how they feel and what they would like to see for the police to do as well. John, I appreciate the question, because many times we get questions from residents about types of things that they want us to do that we simply flatly can't do. But we never get that opportunity unless we have that opportunity to speak. So my advice is to become engaged with be part of the solution.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. Thanks, Chief. I don't see any other hands at this point. So I'm going to go ahead and close the public comment portion of the meeting. And Chief, unless there's anything else that you have, we'll let you get back to your work at the scene of the fire on Valley Street tonight. Good luck to you and your team there on the site, and also to the folks over at headquarters trying to get the phones and the electricity and everything back online. So I'll take a motion to adjourn from any of my colleagues.
Mr. Chairman, I have a few remarks I'd like to make before we adjourn.
Okay.
Just in response to some of the really good discourse that we've had tonight. I do think, as Mr. Sullivan stated, and as the chief himself relayed, especially as exemplified by our experience on Hughes Street, while the knee-jerk reaction typically is to respond to these incidents with what some may characterize as over-policing, or 80s style policing, as some others would call it, increased surveillance, over surveillance, any and all cameras, any and all technology. The answer really does lie, if we're talking about crime prevention and deterrence, the answer often does lie in community building. I mean, and certainly the community should be involved in the policy decisions that the TC makes as to policing in our community. We heard from the Hughes residents that, ironically, through the quality of life issues that they've been dealing with and the tragedy that they experienced the other night, they've gotten to know each other through the meetings that we've hosted and the in-person events that we built there for community building and the Zoom calls that we've had. They've met their neighbors. They didn't necessarily know who was living next door. So it was beyond a 911 call. It was beyond having a camera on the street. It was beyond having your own Nest camera outside of your home. It also meant taking ownership of your neighborhood. being visible, being seen, buddying up with a neighbor, and your voices building a whole bunch of voices and power behind some of the quality of life issues that neighborhoods can experience from time to time. So I just want us to be careful, thoughtful, and empathic as we look to help our community heal and to help our community be healthy, well, and safe. Because we owe it to everyone to do that, including the victims. We talk about justice for Musa, for instance. That includes exactly this. This is justice, not just focusing on the cameras, the extra cars, the extra cops, the extra guns on the street. We have a lot of guns on the street already. So I just want us to be mindful, thoughtful, and really collaborative as we fight against the knee-jerk reaction to fight back with more violence and more aggression. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Okay. I think unless any of my colleagues have anything further, I think I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Move we adjourn.
Second.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and adjourn this meeting of the Maplewood Township Public Safety Committee for this evening. We will meet again the second Wednesday in August. Everyone have a good evening, and Chief, thanks again.
Thank you.